Manchester United beat Brighton. I felt for Brighton yesterday. I thought their fans were brilliant as well. So were United. I mean, came down in huge numbers to Wembley. 14 penalty kicks later, and United are through. Ten Hag remains on course to potentially finish his first season with a cup double, just like Mourinho did back in 2016-17, Simon. Now, Simon, before we hear Ten Hag, with the same owners, should there be more confidence that he can continue with United on an upward trajectory and not fall backwards like Mourinho and others did before him?
But I think Mourinho is a very different animal to Ten Hag. I mean, what a wonderful outcome. A team that had £500 million of a players on the pitch that brought £200 million of a substitutes on, beat a side that probably spent 1/6 of that. What a wonderful outcome that was. I wanted Brighton to win. That comes from a position of being a Crystal Palace fan that doesn't have the greatest regard for Brighton. I wanted to win because I think for all the things that are good about football, Brighton are a better side than Manchester United. They come from a better position than Manchester United do at this moment in time, and I wanted them to win.
Yeah.
And of course, the moment it got into penalties, you kind of feel the writings on the wall because Brighton had chances during the game that you need to take in these occasions. Yeah. You need to take. I felt that the game was okay, but... as I say, I know it's a facetious point I'm making, but look at it. There's £500 million of players on that pitch from Manchester United, and that's not even their best side out there.
It's a great point you're making.
But Brighton's such a wonderfully run club, isn't it? And even De Zerve now, they're probably already looking at a new manager because they're going to lose this guy. I think he's taken them to another level, the way that they play. He's punishing football, the way they
he might want to stay, though. He loves the place, obviously.
Well, it might be taken out of his hands.
I think they'll get another season out of him. I think he's that sort of character. He strikes me as somebody that when he starts a job, and I may be wrong, and we looked at his record previously, we had bounced around quite a lot, and Souness made that as a point about 4, 5, 6 months ago, that there wasn't a consideration, it should have been a consideration looking at this guy's track record, although Graeme ignored the fact that he'd had 5 jobs over 5 or 6 years in the conversation that we were having.
But Tony Bloom, being a betting man, is happy to take that bet on, isn't he? It's a gamble, no?
Well, Tony Bloom
was a gamble.
Tony Bloom will accept in the same way they accepted the same way they accepted with Graham Potter that change is inevitable. What he did was he insulated himself against change by locking Graham Potter up in a contract that ultimately made Chelsea pay £20 million for nothing.
Yes, yeah. On Tony Bloom, we seldom hear from him. I think I interviewed him once in my time at Sky, but yesterday Alex Krug did a great bit of work and persuaded Bloom to speak pre-match, and Bloom spoke in huge warm terms about De Zerbi.
Going back to the summer, I mean, we were doing great under Graham Potter. I didn't even think about it, but obviously surprises sometimes happen. And I brought in Roberto, and he's done absolutely magnificently over the last 6 months or so. He's an exceptional head coach, elite head coach. He's brought such passion to this football club. He's got the very best and more out of our players, tactically so astute. But we've been on such a journey, I don't have too much time to look back. I'm always really looking forward.
That was Tony Bloom. So Martin, with or without De Zerbi, they're on a journey, aren't they?
Oh, incredible, Jim, yeah. I mean, the players, how they get these players in, every one of them. I thought it was terrific the way the game ended up yesterday, end-to-end stuff. I felt for Brighton.
Oh, yeah.
The turmoil going through at the end.
I felt for Solly Marsh, who's a great lad. If you're listening, Solly, forget it. You were brilliant.
Jim, do you know the way that they play? And I've been in with Wenger, all these lovely patterns. You've got to kind of feel it. It's like they're doing work on the training ground, which is, it wasn't quite natural for Matoma when he was in front of goal. And I think when it comes, he's a wonderful player. And it'll happen for them.
Yes.
It's whether or not they can stay together for long enough because of their model.
The problem for Brighton is that like Southampton once upon a time, where everyone lauded and applauded Southampton's innate ability to be able to be very competitive in the Premier League, get to FA Cup finals themselves, and constantly produce players that everyone else pinched, Brighton are going to be in this position because unless Tony's going to go to the next level, which is put even more cash behind this business that he's already spent 300 or 400 million quid of his own money on, and kick it up a notch, which is incredibly difficult to do. When we're talking about kicking it up a notch, we're talking about what other people are spending. He's not going to go there. So I think Brighton are having their summer.
Does Bloom use the same strategy that he does in setting up his betting companies? He changed the market a little bit.
Being very good. I think the strategy of being very good and being very focused and being very diligent is one that football as a business could learn a lot more from.
An educated guest, though, tells me it's worth investing in this team, isn't it?
Well, Matthew Benham is the same. It's from the same industry. They have a certain view of the world, but they also look at people in the rounds and make sure that people do their jobs properly and get the right people to do the right jobs.
Yeah, listen, if Ten Hag does a cup double, and who's to say he doesn't in his first season, that is not bad, is it?
It's not bad. And I think Ten Hag is someone different. I think this is a different stage of Manchester United's evolution. I think Mourinho came in because he was considered to be the one person that hadn't done the Man United job that was big enough to overtake that dressing room. And what Mourinho did was live in a hotel, had challenges in his personal life, lost his father during the course of it, and was the different Mourinho than perhaps we'd have liked to see land at Man United.
Yeah.
And of course he fell out with Ed Woodward, and the Ed Woodward regime was probably the wrong one at the time. So I think it's probably unfair to compare doubles with doubles. But I think Ten Hag, if he does the cup double, which I don't think they'll do, because I think if Man City are on their game, they'll destroy Manchester United because they're a far better side. Then he'll come out of it with a nice building block and a nice argument with the Glazers to go to the next level, which is £200-300 million in the next summer, to keep building. But they've got some way to go.
Mark, we'll talk United just before we hit the break with you, but Ten Hag spoke post-match and said, after what happened in Seville in midweek, this was impressive.
It was the worst game of the season, what we played in Seville. So what there happened, we have to go through. You can't change it anymore. Only what you can change is take the lessons for the future. And what we prove is we can deal with setbacks. We can bounce back between games. But now what we have to improve is bounce back in a game, in difficult situations or occasions, in away stadiums. Doesn't matter what, there we have to show personality. If you can fight 3 days after such a defeat, you can also do that in a game. It is just controlling your emotions, stick together and go and turn around the game.
Martin, if memory serves me right, you were none too complimentary about United winning the Carabao Cup in that, it's a Carabao Cup.
We have to remember what happened afterwards, didn't we? They kind of collapsed in their season. They lost 7-0 to Liverpool. And then Sevilla was another collapse in midweek. So
where's your mind with them now?
Well, I mean, he's turned a negative into a positive by going and winning, that really important semi-final. But while those question marks still exist, it's work in progress.
Do you think City batter them in the final?
I don't think that ever happens in a Manchester derby game. Manchester will overtake London for the day. There'll be a lot of pressure. There's an army of games for Man City to accomplish. They're probably looking for 7 days later to play in the Champions League final, Jim. 7 days before that, they would have liked to have finished off winning the Premier League. So it's all about momentum. I think if they can win the Premier League, City, then I don't see them stopping Manchester United winning.
Sure,
Manchester United won't beat them in the FA Cup final.
I don't think so. And I think the fact that this, if this game was played at the City Stadium or United Stadium, I think that the derby would override the factor because of the nature of the fixture. But this is in London; it's neutral. You're going to have equal amount of fans inside the ground. I think the better team will win, and the better team, undeniably, is Manchester City.
Jim White and Simon Jordan, Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app, and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.